Good morning, Marines. Let me be one of the first to say job well done. What you've done here is significant. You've met the challenge, you've proven yourselves, and you've earned the title United States Marine. So congratulations, good luck, Godspeed, and Semper Fidelis. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our nation's newest Marines. Thank you.
My name's Dan Oles. I'm a former corporal with Weapons Company 225. I served there from 2013 to 2018. My father, he was in the service. I had a long family history going all the way back to World War I in terms of service.
Regarding my deployment in August 2nd, 1990, Saddam Hussein gave the green light to his forces to invade Kuwait. And I remember the day that happened. I was watching it all unfold on CNN.
Less than a week ago, in the early morning hours of August 2nd, Iraqi armed forces, without provocation or warning, invaded a peaceful Kuwait.
Little did anyone know at that time that the United States and a whole coalition would be involved in ejecting Saddam Hussein's forces out of there. So that was the start of Operation Desert Shield, and that was basically the troop buildup. And so this was in August. By November, we received our alert, and I was actually the first 50 Marine Corps reservists to be called up to active duty in the nation, actually, and the first unit to be called up as a whole since the Korean War.
I remember personally, like when I was a kid, I don't think it really hit me what was happening, because I had such confidence in like your abilities in a way, because I was like, oh, Dad's been there before, he'll be fine, you know. I mean, like I really just had the utmost confidence that you'd be fine, and you came back and in one piece, so that was something. But you know, obviously I was 10 years old, so 11 years old when you came back, but hey, glad you're still with us.
Yeah, I remember your confidence in me going over there, so I said I really have to make sure I get back in one piece.
Right out of high school, I graduated in 2012, and then 3 months later I was in Paris Island. I was already kind of like an outsider going in, where like most of these guys that I fucking went in with were jocks in high school and stuff like. So I was already kind of like different. The physical stuff never got to me. I kind of figured that, but emotionally it was kind of hard. I mean, I was 18. I just turned 18, and I was away from my family and my friends for the first time, and like there's no phones or anything like that. The most I would get was letters and stuff like that, and that didn't come till later. But the first couple of days, it's super high stress. You don't sleep for like the first 2 days. Being in the reserves is just the fact that I met people who kind of felt similarly, like the fact that they're like, oh shit, we shouldn't have joined the reserve. They just became my best friends, because you're trained to fight with these people and to die next to these people. So like your bond's gonna be strong, and on top of it, you all went through the hell of boot camp and the hell of the School of Infantry to get to where you are at. So you already earn respect from that person that you're serving with, because they had been through the same thing that you had been through. Obviously, we've known each other for a little while. Why did you become a Marine?
So I was 17, and I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school. And I heard about the Marine Corps. First time I'd heard about the Marines was at 17, and I just realized that they were the best and it would be a good challenge. So I joined for the challenge, but then I ended up staying just for the camaraderie.
So like the brotherhood.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while I was a reservist, I was a machine gunner. I reached the rank of corporal. I was a team leader, and also a Humvee driver.
I would get comments saying like, oh, people would come up to me randomly asking like, oh, so when'd you come back from tour? And I didn't catch the reference as to what tour meant. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, were you in Iraq? And I was like, no. And people just said like the way I carried myself, straight, straight posture and whatnot, and the way I spoke with people, came across as having that military bearing per se. But more importantly, I think the biggest reason was 9/11.
So we're in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn right now. This is where I was born, to my home. And, growing up here, there was a lot of influence on me. One, because of all of the military memorials they have here. Two, because my dad served. He was in the Gulf War, and he was in Iraq. And three, obviously, was 9/11. I grew up with that image of those fucking towers burning, coming down, seared into my brain. Seeing my dad come home after work in the pile covered in fucking dust and talking about all the destruction, that made me grow up real fucking quick, And, it was never expected by anybody in my family for me to join the military. But I felt like I didn't have a fucking choice. I know it wasn't for another 11 years afterwards that I joined because I was so young when the towers went down, but definitely it was a big influence on me. But this place was a big influence on me as well. Basically, my mom wouldn't sign the papers because when I originally enlisted, I was 17. So she wouldn't sign the papers unless I went to the reserves. And instead of just waiting a couple months till I turned 18, I decided to join the reserves. And the unfortunate thing about the reserves, but what my recruiter lied to me about, was that you could always switch to active duty. Yeah, it's not, sign a couple. It's not. You're locked in for 6 years. And so I was under the impression that eventually I could switch. So when I got out of SOI, all my training was complete, and I started drilling as a reservist, I got really fucking depressed. I got really, really depressed. I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on a base, working 5 days a week, in the Marine Corps, but instead I was just doing it 1 week in a month, while having to do, go to college. I didn't want to be in college. I almost flunked high school. So now I'm back at school, the thing that I fucking hated. And so I got depressed because I wasn't doing what I wanted to. And what this eventually led to was, because I was so sad all the time because I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, I started taking MDMA.
What is that?
Like ecstasy, Molly.
Oh, okay.
And I had a serious issue. I had a serious drug problem, and it kind of stemmed from the fact that I wasn't full time in the Marine Corps. And eventually, it turned into every day. And I started to really fuck my body up. My brain wasn't working the way it used to. I was starting to get blackouts. I finished doing all this training, right? Then I get back to Long Island and oh shit, okay, well that's over with, but now I'm back in my fucking room that I've lived in since I was 10 with my mom. When all these friends that I made at SOI who went on active duty, they're out, in a barracks, working on a base, going training in the field and doing all this shit. And I'm sitting in a fucking classroom in Suffolk Community College, learning about shit I don't really give a fuck about. So that right there, it's why am I not there? I got to the unit in 2013. And they were slated for deployment in 2014. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to go. But then eventually some asshole was selling our gear on eBay. And I think he sold almost $1 million worth of gear on eBay. So eventually, when we were slated for a deployment in 2014, of course, Division's going to look at this. They're like, oh yeah, 225's up for deployment. Yeah, but they're selling their own gear on fucking eBay. How are we going to trust these people in country if they can't even keep their shit together when they're in country?
There are politics at play. Now, coming over the officer side, I do understand that there is a political pull that determines why some Marines deploy, why some Marines don't. So having been a machine gunner especially, all the knowledge that I obtained through combined arms exercises and attending advanced courses for machine gun gunnery, I kind of felt out of place because it's you get taught all this stuff on essentially how to kill, how to just destroy, just create pure chaos for someone else, and not being able to put that anywhere. It's kind of shitty. It's like going to college, and this is something everyone experiences, being underemployed. So you go to study to be a doctor, but you're working at 7-Eleven because there aren't no more jobs. There are plenty of people feeling that during college today, and that's how I felt. I felt underutilized, and like there was really no purpose in training for no reason.
People always ask you, especially if you're a Marine, they expect to hear Iraq, Afghanistan, and that's one of those questions that I personally, and I'm sure a lot of Marines can relate, that you always dread answering. Because what do you tell them? You know, oh yeah, I went to Fort Dix for my annual training. Like, yeah, fucking hoorah, you know.
Since I didn't get to go, I feel now it is my duty to continue serving and helping those guys who did go or are going to go, and even especially those who don't go, because I understand how they feel. And those are the guys who I can best help out. Not getting to go into a combat zone, yeah, it might sound like a good thing, but it was honestly a devastating point, not being able to feel that.
I mean, I'm still torn and conflicted about it. I thought that if I get some kind of deployment, I'd be able to make my peace with the Marine Corps and kind of end my contract, but I really don't know. Like, I don't know if it's going to take a combat deployment for me to feel like, not so much that I've earned the right to call myself a United States Marine, but more so to more specifically say I'm a fucking Marine grunt, you know?
I'm stuck here with no hope for deployment now, and I'm like, fuck, I think I might have just wasted 6 years of my life instead of just going on active duty like I wanted to. I'm not done with the military. I do plan on definitely going back in. I think yeah, like that desire is still in me, and I don't want to live my life with regrets. And definitely, I think even if I go fucking South America like my friends, or like to Europe, it doesn't fucking matter. I just want to do something in the military that matters, even if it's, you know, that small.